Hi, I'm Bill Mosley, and you're in the horror basement. Lick my plate, you dog bitch.
All right, guys. So on this interview, we have the amazing Joe Bob Briggs. You might know him from The Last Drive-In. He also shut down the internet, or the streaming app Shudder, from his last marathon that he had. And with that being said, you can go to shudder.com and use our promo code TNHORROR, TNHORROR, and get your 30-day free trial so you can go watch The Dinners of Death too. Joe Bob, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Doing great, man. We appreciate you coming on. This is actually pretty fucking awesome, if I may say. How did it feel to shut down a streaming service?
Well, it's kind of mixed feelings because on the one hand, you want people to watch. And so nobody could see it because it crashed right when the thing started. And on the other hand, people were so excited that it crashed, that I got all this social media saying, oh, Joe Bob, this is the coolest thing ever. You crashed the internet, you crashed the servers. And of course, and by the way, we didn't just crash the Shudder servers; we crashed the Sundance Channel servers too.
Oh, wow!
I don't know how that happens, but so I mean, I'm sure they were like, "What the fuck?" over there. So but it was ultimately a good thing. I mean, we have no idea how many people actually watch the show because when it shuts down like that, you don't really have any data. So, but most people tell me, I say, did you watch? And they say, well, we tried to watch. And I say, well, did you watch any of it? And they say, well, yeah, it kind of started up about halfway through the second movie. So, it started out with Tourist Trap and then it went to Sleepaway Camp. And most people got in sometime around Sleepaway Camp. And then, the ones I worked hardest on were the first one and the last one. And it crashed again on the last one. So I guess people were like tuning in to watch the very end of it. And so it crashed again. But hopefully this coming Thursday, they've got it all worked out, and whatever technicians we have won't spill Dr. Pepper on the computer or whatever. So I think they're ready this time.
Oh,
I was talking to a guy. We're stress testing it. Okay, whatever. The Cisco guys are here. Cisco, the computer IT guys, all over the place, like stress testing. Okay, great, let's go.
They're gonna keep them on hand, so just in case it happens again, they can try to address it a lot quicker. But hopefully, they got their servers good and everything and ready to go.
I think it wouldn't be fun a second time.
No, it was so.
Do it the first time, but this time it just wouldn't be fun anymore.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel about the current state of horror?
I get asked that a lot. I'm never quite sure what people mean by that because horror never goes away. It's more or less popular at any given time, but there's always great horror films and bad horror films.
Mm-hmm.
I think what people mean is, people in the hardcore fan base for horror sometimes ask, is it a good thing that the fan base has become broader? And yes, the answer is yes. That's a very good thing. It's a very good thing that The Shape of Water, a monster movie, wins the Academy Award. It's a very good thing that the remake of It, makes however much money. It made $400 million, $500 million. I don't know.
A lot.
It's a very good thing that everyone thinks the Halloween sequel. it's a very good thing that Jordan Peele made a new subgenre of horror when he made Get Out. All of those things are really good things. People are always, there's two kinds of horror fans. There's a horror fan that goes and watches every single horror film ever made. That's my audience. They want to see everything ever made, and then there's the guy that sees one horror film a year, and so we need that guy that sees one horror film a year, because that's when you get the big numbers. And then the studio executives and the indie executives and everything, they make that horror script that they've been thinking about making, but they thought it might be too risky, and then they see those big numbers and they make stuff that they wouldn't otherwise make. So big numbers on a horror film always help the smaller horror films to get made. And so, yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing the way people are going to horror this year. I have to say, there's a negative reason that people are doing it. People are looking for escapism because they can't stand what's going on in Washington D.C.
Mm-hmm.
They're like saying, "I don't do politics anymore. I don't, I'm checking out of that. I'm doing something else. I'm collecting stamps.
Oh yeah.
And one of the things they're doing is like I'm doing these deep dives into horror. I'm binge watching. I'm doing this stuff. So part of the reason there's such an interest in horror is this sort of the ultimate escapist pastime. For people that are reality.
Yeah,
I read somewhere that you can't give on Dinners of Death. The rumblings of the new series. Can you give us any details on that?
First we're doing the mini marathon on Thanksgiving called Dinners of Death, 9:00 Eastern time, and then on Christmas we're doing a very Joe Bob Christmas on the 21st of December, the Friday before Christmas, 9:00 Eastern time. And they're on the live stream. You got to show up for the event. And then starting sometime after the first of the year, we're going to do a weekly double feature. They don't really tell me when we're going to start. I think we're going to start in March, to tell you the truth. But it's just going to be exactly like my old format on my old show, Monster Vision, which was almost always a double feature. And we're going to interrupt the movie, like we do. even though we don't have any commercials, we just put some commercial breaks in there anyway and interrupt the movie. Which when they wanted to do that for the marathon last summer, I thought, are you crazy? On a streaming service, people are going to be so pissed. But people liked it. They didn't mind. So we're going to keep doing that. My first job that I had at the movie channel years ago, we did not interrupt the movie. We just did an introduction, and then I talked about it after the movie. But I guess, we've actually invented a new format. I mean, Netflix interrupts stuff for ads, but they don't really interrupt stuff for other content, So anyway, again, they don't like me to tell titles, but it's a mixture of they like it when I go back into the 80s, when I do these appreciations of the 80s movies.
Yeah.
So there's some of that. There's some So Bad It's Good movies. There's some foreign horror. There's some more recent horror from directors that I like. And it's just all over the lot. It's just like there's no rhyme or reason to it. I mean, the only thing I can say about the structure of it is if I really test your patience with one of those difficult movies that are kind of hard to watch, then it'll probably be followed up with a goofy 80s movie. So we try to mix it up so it's not too intense for the whole 5 hours or however long it is.
That sounds great. A good mixed bag.
Yeah.
What percentage do you get to choose the movies? Or do you choose all of them?
It's like it's basically two people, me and the director Austin Jennings, and first we look at what Shudder already owns, and then we make a wish list of stuff. We try to make them buy stuff for us.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're not. We got a problem with Lionsgate because they stick in they put in their contracts that you can't interrupt the movie, so we can't use Lionsgate films on our show. We're asking them to maybe loosen that up for our show. I think they put it in there because they don't want commercials.
Yeah.
So I think they may not care if we can get through their legal department and get a different contract from them, but. And then some movies you just can't find who owns them. Some of the movies that I asked for, we can't figure out who owns the movie.
That's wild.
And some of them we can't find a decent copy that you can stream. Oddly enough, so it's rough, and some of these licenses are for 3 months, 6 months, whatever. And so if they put it on my show, they want to leave the show up for a long time, and so they don't want me to do that movie because the license is going to expire 4 or 5 months. And so they want to put it up on demand later, not right when it airs, but later.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of hurdles to jump through just to get stuff going. So I guess.
Yeah.
What was the first movie you showed on the Monster Vision?
Boy, that's a good question. Because we would be going back to 1985 or 6 on the movie channel, and I don't remember what the very first movie was. I'm sure it was something kind of crappy because the reason they hired me at the movie channel is they'd gone over to these film markets in Europe and they'd bought all this crap, and they brought it back to New York, and they didn't know what to do with it, and so they decided they would get a host who would give you another reason to watch that time slot. So that's the only reason I started working for the movie channel, is like, what are we going to do with all this crap we bought? And some of it was horror, and some of it was sex comedies, and some of it was action, some of it was kung fu. I mean, it was just every kind of exploitation movie you can imagine. And I was like, yeah, that's my sweet spot. I love all those genres, and so I stayed there 11 years doing that. And we had movies that I never did figure out. I didn't figure out where they came from, what they were about. We had really bad movies. We had one called Super Beast from the Philippines, and there was no beast in the movie. I don't know why it was called Super Beast. It was just these people wandering around in the jungle in the Philippines looking for the super beast, and they never found it.
Was that?
Well, it's kind of like looking for Bigfoot.
That's what I was about to say. Is a super beast the Philippines Bigfoot?
There's at least in a Bigfoot movie, you see some guy in a bear suit eventually.
Yeah, true. Well, how did you Did they approach you to be the host of that, or did you have to audition for something like that? They
were just bringing in guest hosts, come in and introduce 4 movies. And so I came in and did a guest host thing where it was just me and my Lazy Boy recliner with the steer horns on the back.
Awesome.
That was it. That was the whole set. And I just stared down the barrel of the camera and introduced these 4 movies. And after it was over, they said, that was good. Come back next month and do it again. So I came back the next month, did it again. After that was, come back next month, do it again. Every month, come back next month, do it again. I'm flying from Dallas to New York to do these things. And I stayed there 11 years. It was always like that. It was like, come back next month. Come back and do it again. It's like,
Damn, 11 years, once a month.
I don't even think we had a contract for like 4 years.
Damn.
Like, let's do some more of these things. And finally, they had some other hosts that eventually got fired, except the only two left were me and Robert Osborne, if you remember him, the Hollywood Reporter guy who did the golden age of Hollywood movies. And so Robert was in L.A., and I was the last host left in these huge studios in Spanish Harlem in Manhattan. It's the old Dumont network. In the 50s, they had 4 TV networks. One of them was the Dumont network. They did the Honeymooners there. And my little set was like in one corner of this huge soundstage. And I said, guys, I could probably get you a better deal on a much smaller stage in Dallas, and I wouldn't have to come up here all the time. And they said, great. And so we just moved everything to Dallas and did for years. Then for years, even the years at TNT, it was all done from Dallas. And so I didn't have to fly to New York all the time. But that was an easy show to do compared to TNT, Monster Vision, because Monster Vision, I would be on 7, 8, 9 times during every movie. It was a monster of a job. It was because we were on 52 weeks a year. We had at least two movies a week. That's 104 movies. And then sometimes we'd have marathons, so you add 20, 30 movies to that. And then sometimes we'd have specials. So it was probably like 150, 160 movies a year for how many years? Like 16 years if you include the movie channel years. So it's however many movies that is. That's how many movies I've hosted. Probably 2,000 movies. And all of them require a lot of, you got to know about the movie when you start talking about it. And there weren't a lot of ways to find out about the movie. There was no internet for most of that time. Yeah. And even when there was an internet, the early days of the internet, there was no reliable information on the internet. There's still not reliable information on the internet. I actually try to avoid the internet when I'm researching this stuff, because there'll be somebody makes a mistake or puts up a false information on there, gets repeated 1,000 times, and it becomes real information on the internet. And so I don't really like the internet as far as a place to find out, the truth about movies or the truth about anything. The truth. Yeah. So there was a whole lot of research that had to be done on all those movies, the ones we could find.
I was wondering, kind of, the last drive-in is they put it up on demand. Are they going to do that with the holiday marathon too, or are they just going to be live?
They will, but they don't know when they will, because we're trying to make these live events, because we found that that's what most people want. There's a Facebook group called the Drive-In Mutants that gets together and watches movies every week together. And but it started because of the last drive-in, and there's all these people that are on Slack that they stay on Slack when they're going to stay on Slack through both marathons and talk to each other while the thing is going on. There's a whole bunch of people that are going to live tweet. There are, the mail girl is going to be on duty through the whole thing, dealing with people's questions and comments and everything. And there's just massive social media associated with it, so that it becomes a group experience. And I like that. Right? We even had that back in the days of Monster Vision, the really early days of chat rooms on the internet. Yeah. We had a TNT room, and people would go to that chat room while the show was on. And so it's not exactly a new thing, but it's like there's so many more ways to communicate now. And so people are going to be using Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Slack to be the audience for this. And so it makes it more, I don't know, just makes it more fun. For it to be like going to the drive-in.
It does. There's I don't know. You say it's not a new thing, but it's like we don't get stuff like that a lot currently. Even though it's with social media, everything is like it's ripe for it. And this is something we don't get a lot. In that, I don't know. There's some kind of a feeling of community there along with the movies, and I don't know. There's something magic about it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Netflix would never do this because Netflix thinks that the future of entertainment is one person with one device streaming one piece of content at a time on his schedule. That's what they think is the future. Maybe that is the future, but there's a huge part of the audience that feels lonely when you do that, and they want a communal experience. And they want to have the emotional experience of watching a movie in a group and having the same emotional experience with other people and then talking about it. And so we're creating that. We're not just dropping these things at a time and then everyone watch them whenever they want to watch them. So we're kind of going against the religion of streaming, but I found people want that. I mean, I do presentations of movies all over the country, and usually about 80% of my audience has already seen the movie. So why are they coming? They're coming to have an emotional experience with other people. They're coming to have the discussion, to have the audience reaction. You know, all the things that you want when you are watching a great movie or even a bad movie. You know, you want to feel what other people are feeling. So anyway, that's the way we have it set up like this, where you got to show up at 9 o'clock on Black Thursday. Actually, we're calling it Red Thursday now. And by the way, the Dinners of Death thing on Thanksgiving has my favorite movie of all time. I was never able to show this movie at the movie channel or TNT because it was on the too grisly for cable list. It was considered too grisly for even premium TV, even premium cable, even paid TV. You know, they would not show it. And so it's only been in the last 10 years or so that it's been released from the band list. And so we can show it on Shudder. Not that, I mean, Shudder would probably show anything. I mean, they don't really censor. You know, they would censor me before they would censor a movie. So, so anyway, we have on Dinners of Death we have two absolute classics. We have one of the most intense and violent films ever made.
Oh wow!
And we have one goofy '80s film.
All right. So the one that you said is too really violent and all that, is that currently? I mean, I'm not going to ask you what it is, but is that currently already on Shudder, or is it only going to be on your show?
That's a good question. I'm not sure about that. Usually they are available on Shudder, even before I host them, but I'm not sure.
Okay, well,
I know that like we have Mandy, and it's not going to be released till the 29th.
Yeah.
So that will not be on the show. But a lot of the movies that we showed last time were already on Shudder, but nobody had watched them until we put them on the marathon, including Tourist Trap. You know, it wasn't that popular. There weren't many people downloading it. we kind of I'm happy about that because we kind of revived the reputation of it.
You definitely can do that.
Yeah, I mean, you made Blood Feast watchable. That's a feat.
Well, Blood Feast will never quite be watchable, but but it has historic importance. The other one that surprised me is Legend of Boggy Creek. I don't think people have been watching Legend of Boggy Creek over the years, and we kind of like revived interest in that one. The Bigfoot genre is kind of thin. I mean, there aren't that many good ones. I do think Legend of Boggy Creek is one of the better ones, but
it's getting a 4K Blu-ray release.
Oh, really? Well, that's because I think Charles Pierce's daughter has retaken control of the estate and the rights, and I'm sure she set up that deal, and that's a great thing because I'm sure they cleaned it up and cleaned up the soundtrack and everything, and hopefully they got some of the Crabtree family to talk about it. Almost every character in the film is named Crabtree. Everybody, I guess half of Falk, Arkansas is named Crabtree. So,
Hey, Joe Bob, we actually know about a Bigfoot movie, Takahe. That's one. If you ever get a chance to check out, you should look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's from a
Bigfoot
local director out of Nashville.
Yeah. Takuhe. Yeah.
Takahe.
Yeah.
Takuhe, and where does Takahe live?
I guess the Yeti.
It's a Tennessee.
Yeah.
I had never heard of a Bigfoot legend around here, but apparently there is one. So they go out camping but they have this Bigfoot scream. It's just, oh God, it's perfect. It's better than the old Patterson footage, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was shot in Middle Tennessee, about 30 minutes out of Nashville, I want to say.
Okay.
From George Dimmick.
Yeah, George Dimmick.
George Dimmick's the director. He's been around for a while directing movies, but yeah, it's something. I mean, if you get a chance, you should check that out.
All right, I'll check that one out.
Yeah.
Maybe feature it on a
There's a lot of movies that come out of Nashville over the years.
Yeah, it's
most of them star in a country western star who can't act. But
that is true.
Very true.
Rising to fame.
Need a good horror movie to come out of Nashville or around here, besides Evil Dead.
Well, yeah.
What was the Sylvester Stallone country western movie with Dolly Parton? One of the Rhinestone.
Rhinestone Cowboy?
No, it was just called Rhinestone.
Oh, okay.
It was one of the worst movies in the history of the film.
That sounds freaking horrible.
Sylvester
Why?
Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone as a freaking...
So it's Rambo and Dolly Parton together?
Yeah. Well,
oh my
Dolly
God!
Parton
I just pulled up a picture of him.
Turned Sylvester Stallone into a. She makes a bet with somebody that she can turn Sylvester Stallone into a country western star. So it has Sly Stallone singing.
Oh.
It's just horrible. It's just horrible.
Like I'm looking at him in his jumpsuit and Dolly Parton. It's
Oh my God!
he should not be wearing that. No.
Hey, could they make a sequel to that?
God, I hope not. It's got 15% on Rotten Tomato.
Wow.
Really, 15%. I'm surprised it got.
Yeah,
15.
that's what I was thinking. I was like, there's movies that got way worse than that. That's fucked up.
Oh shit.
Joe, I wanted to ask you. I was listening to a podcast you was on, and you said you got a writing job at. Did I hear it correct? 13 years old.
Yeah, I was living in Little Rock, Arkansas, and at the Arkansas Democrat, which was an afternoon paper. I got a job in the sports department as an apprentice copy boy. But in those days, especially if you were at the afternoon paper, they called it a copy boy, but you had to write. Everybody at the paper had to write because they needed to fill up the paper, and so I would go in before school and write 5 or 6 little articles before I went to school, and then cover games at night, cover games on the weekend, cover high school football, cover amateur golf, stuff like that. And so that's how I learned to write, is getting up at 5 a.m. and going into the to the paper and writing these articles on deadline in the sports department at the paper there.
Did people know that they were reading articles from a 13-year-old perspective, or just?
Well, hell no, but
That's what I was like. I was just sitting there thinking, like, you got this like really avid fan, like, fuck that article. He's like just getting pissed off about what you wrote, how bad they are, or whatever.
I got chewed out one time by this high school football coach in Hot Springs, Arkansas. It's like, what the hell are you doing in my dressing room? Who are you? What are you doing here? It's like I was a little kid spy from the other school or something. And it was, the people were frequently surprised to see the little kids showing up, like at the big Arkansas Razorback games, football games. They would send me to
That's wild.
do the locker room interviews. They wouldn't send me to cover the game, but they would send me to do the locker room interviews after the game. And it was like, do you work here? Where'd you come from? What's your job here? Because I was too young to be doing that. And then when I was 18 years old, the first summer of college, I got a job at the Philadelphia Inquirer in the sports department there. And sure enough, the Phillies were so bad that they sent me to cover the Phillies out of town. And so the guys in the other press boxes would write stories about, hey, there's this kid covering Major League Baseball. And so I remember one time I was in Cincinnati, I don't know, I can't remember, the old stadium in Cincinnati. And they wrote so many articles about me that I got distracted, and I fucked up the game. I had the wrong pinch hitter. I wasn't paying attention to the thing. I had the wrong pinch hitter and everything. And I got royally chewed out when I got back to Philadelphia. But anyway, I thought at the time I was going to be a sports writer, but I got really bored with it. After you've been through the seasons 3 or 4 times, they're all alike. I mean, and I didn't like being chewed out by coaches and treated like shit by coaches all the time. It's like, especially the college football coaches, they're just horrible to you. They just hate you. I don't know why. They just automatically hate you. And if you ask a question that they don't like, they just they can just make you feel like the smallest person in the world. And I don't know if that's changed at all, but when I was doing it, it was like, I didn't really want to be around these people. These are awful people, Bobby Knight. I lived in fear of having to ask Bobby Knight a question.
Well, he had a temper. I mean, his temper was fucking unreal.
He threw a chair. The length of the court and hit some guy.
Yeah.
I later had that guy on my show on Monster Vision.
Oh, that is awesome.
The guy that got hit by the Bobby Knight chair, that was his claim to fame. We had him on the show. He was a nice guy from Indianapolis.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine asking Bobby Knight a question and be like, yes, sir, your team's doing well. Thank you. Have a good day. And just walk out.
Wouldn't even ask him a question.
Yeah, just, yes, sir. I'm out.
I was like, aren't we all in this together? Isn't this basically the entertainment business? You know, it's like, what, you know, why are they so hostile to the press? I don't get it. You know, don't they need us? You know, you would think, you know, it shouldn't be different from any other form of show business, but it is different. Boy, they are different.
Yeah, I guess they make so much money, especially now. I don't know if they made it back then, but now they make, and everything has to be so secretive, and they really don't like you talking about them. Like Nick Saban's
See, I went to Vanderbilt. You guys are from Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
I went to Vanderbilt, and so we didn't really have that arrogance about our teams.
No, they still don't. They're still trying to draw people in the stadium. Like they have the coach.
Exactly.
They have the coach come on the radio and, like, you know, ads like, come and fill Vanderbilt Stadium with black and gold, anchor down. You know, like they're really trying to draw people in. It's like,
yeah, it was so bad when I was there. One year they couldn't get anybody to go out for Mr. Commodore, the mascot.
Yeah.
They couldn't. They had 0 applications for guys who wanted to wear the Mr. Commodore costume and be on the sidelines. So, that wasn't a big deal.
They didn't even want to, the students didn't even want to watch the game. Most of them still don't. Because, I mean, it's an academic school. Like, it takes so much to be.
That was always the problem. You know, some of these schools that are private schools, somehow they managed to get those 350-pound offensive linemen qualified to enroll. You know, like USC. You know, they always have great teams. So that's a similar school to Vanderbilt. Have about the same amount of students, and it's a private school. But somehow they get them qualified. You know. And we were always like, oh, academic standards. Nope, you can't come here. Nope, you can't come here. You know, and I was always like, well, you know, yeah, but you know, if they were a genius at playing the piano, you'd probably let them come here. Maybe they're just a genius at being an offensive lineman. You know, go ahead and let that guy from North Alabama come here.
Yeah, really.
But that was always a problem. They couldn't get the great players academically qualified.
Surely they can, you know, forge some grades
that's what
here
most
and there.
of them do. Either that or they pay them now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, in the old days, the faculty would cooperate with you.
Yeah.
Meaning the 1930s.
Yeah, in the old days.
Well, we ask people this question a lot. Do you have any ghost stories?
Ghost stories?
I mean, if you don't, it's fine.
Not really. I mean, I'd have to go back to my Boy Scout days when we would go out into the woods of rural Arkansas, and you know, and they'd leave us out there for 3 days.
Oh, damn!
and every movement in the woods we would think was
Bigfoot,
something that was going to kill us, because we were like kids from the suburbs or something. But I don't have any actual ghost stories that are like, you know, being in a haunted hotel or anything. I always hope that I will. I've been in a lot of hotels that claim to have a ghost.
See, I'm in the same boat with you. I want to see a ghost. Like, I don't necessarily believe in ghosts, but because I haven't seen one. But you know, I mean, it'd be cool to see a ghost as long as it didn't like attack me.
Yeah. I like the idea of seeing a ghost, but I don't know how I would react to it.
You'd probably be scared.
Big old guy, like, oh shit, no, I'm done.
Ghost. No, I'm just fucking. Hey,
yeah. I mean, a ghost is not. They don't do ghost stories much in the movies anymore. They do zombies, they do werewolves, they do, you know, other kinds of creatures. But something about a ghost is like not quite scary enough, and it takes actually a more skilled form of filmmaking. It's harder to do ghosts than it is to do zombies. So everybody does zombies.
Yeah, everybody does zombies.
What, Yeti?
I said that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I've seen a lot of really bad ghost movies. Like they try, but it just doesn't work out.
Now they just do like demonic possession.
You gotta know how to do those jump scares, where they get whenever the ghost appears, it's got to scare the fuck out of you, and and most young filmmakers, are not good at those techniques.
No.
I mean, there's only been a handful of great ghost movies. You know who makes ghost movies? The Chinese. They love ghosts. They got all these movies that never make it over to the U.S., but Asians in general love ghosts.
Hey, have you seen the movie Ghost House?
No.
It's got Scout Taylor Compton in it.
It was shot in Thailand.
Oh yeah, really? Okay, good.
It's a pretty good ghost movie.
Apparently, in Thailand, everyone has a ghost house. Like they set up a little house for ghosts
almost
to
like
go.
a mailbox. It looks like.
For ghosts to go live in.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and my question to them was, well, if people have really nice ghost houses, wouldn't other ghosts like try to invade the nice ghost house?
Yeah, it's like the big
mansion ghost house.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd want to go live in that one. Fuck my little one.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy, but
Asian ghosts are way scarier.
What, Yeti?
I said Asian ghosts are way scarier. Like, our ghosts don't hold a candle to theirs.
I know they have those. What do they call them? Hopping ghosts or hopping? Yeah, hopping ghosts. I don't know. It's like it's a genre that's never made it across the ocean. We don't really watch those movies, but
so I guess they can't hop across the ocean.
I should do one on Shudder though.
Yeah,
I'm going to do some Japanese horror.
Hell yeah.
Japanese horror is a lot more intense than American horror. I mean, they will put they'll put anything on the screen. They'll put stuff that probably get them an X rating over here.
What about, have you seen Train to Busan?
Yeah, a good example. That's a good Korean film, and there's actually a lot of good Korean horror and Korean thrillers and Korean suspense. They've had a great, run of the last 20 years of their film industry has really been strong, and like Japan was big in the 90s, and then Korea sort of like went crazy on horror. And I've been pushing Shudder to try to get us some of that stuff, some of the more obscure ones, some of the ones that not everyone has seen, because people have seen Audition, and people have seen Ichi the Killer, and a few of the Asian horror films, but although I would love to show Audition, I love Audition. But the movie I'm talking about with the acupuncture girl and the acupuncture torturer girl.
That sounds horrible.
It's a Takashi Miike movie. Takashi Miike. I think the reason we know that Takashi Miike is one of the few Japan directors we know is that we can pronounce his name. Anyway, I'm pushing Shudder to get us some more Asian horror. They like Scandinavian stuff, and there's no rhyme or reason to what they buy, but I wish we had a lot more of that stuff.
Yeah, another one that I was always would enjoy was it's not Scandinavian. I don't know. It's Russian, I guess, or something. But it's Dead Snow.
I haven't seen Dead Snow, but I've heard of it. I think
that's the World War II zombies.
Yeah. No, I know the one you're talking about. It was made in Finland, I think.
Yeah, it's the first one was all, I guess, German or whatever language, and then the second one they actually had English. But yeah, it's more of a horror comedy, I believe.
I'll check that one out. I wish more people would send me more suggestions, actually, as to what we should show, because I'm tired of going back to the 80s all the time. I don't want to go back to the 80s. There was good stuff in the 80s. There was crap in the 80s.
Hey, Yeti, you want to make a list for him and you could send to him?
Hell yeah.
Oh, God. I don't know. Like, I would like to see you do, like, you were talking about how, the stuff they make in Japan is X-rated over here. I would like to see some, like, the guinea pig series on fucking, like a more wide introduction to the Japanese guinea pig series. That's, I think that would be neat. I think it'd scar a bunch of people for life, but I think it'd be fun.
Yeah. Okay. I'll put that on the list.
Have you seen those?
I don't think so. I kind of know what you're talking about, but I haven't watched those.
They're the big mythos around them is that Charlie Sheen got handed a copy of one of them at a party, and I think it was Chris Gore handed him a copy of one of the guinea pig movies from Japan. He watched it and immediately called the FBI because he was certain that this man had handed him a snuff film.
Yep. That's great. Well, now I want to see it.
Yeah, Yeti is our resident extreme horror guy.
Yeah.
He likes the really hardcore horror movies.
Gore.
Okay,
Gore,
well, then
yeah.
you'll like the third one. You'll like the third one on the Dinners of Death Marathon.
Hell yeah. We're definitely looking forward to that Dinners of Death marathon for sure.
And everything to come with Joe Bob and Shudder. And I believe it's a perfect pairing for you to be on Shudder.
Well, I appreciate that. I hope it continues to be, so much love pouring out of the horror community that I hope they continue to like what we're trying to do.
Oh, I'm sure you won't have no problem there. I think from the last drive-in issues, I believe that showed that everybody wants to see Joe Bob back. So.
Well, I appreciate that.
And like we said, I say and everybody else, we're glad to see you back and can't wait for more.
Great. Well, watch the two marathons because we're kind of going in a little different direction, but I think you'll like it, especially the Christmas one.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
looking forward to that. It's gonna be
for
fun.
sure.
Well, Joe Bob, we appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come on, and hope you have a good Thanksgiving, and we're going to have a good Thanksgiving with you.
Okay, I appreciate you having me on. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. You have a good one.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Joe Bob.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right, guys. So don't forget the Dinners of Death, November 22nd, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 8 Central, 6 Pacific, and 7 Mountain. Just so you know, if you don't know how to tell time or convert that shit. Or Red Thursday, as it's being called by Joe Bob and the Shutter crew. Make sure y'all check that out, and we appreciate y'all listening to us and taking the time out to listen to this interview.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yep, we appreciate Joe Bob and his staff for even getting back with us. I mean,
oh yeah, for
contacting us back and giving us that opportunity is fucking awesome.
Big shout out to Tracy.
Yes, thank you, Tracy. So that's all we got. We out. Peace.
Thanks for trying to be an asshole.